Thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me on Archive. D-Style here. Make sure you throw a jab. You're listening on Archive. To that like button. Make sure that like button turns blue. All right. Want to go ahead and just kind of randomly come on here and just see how this is gonna go. You know what I mean? Let's just come on here. Let's see how it goes. Nothing dramatic. You know what I mean? That's all. What inspired this? Okay, let's talk about what inspired this video. Shout out to EJ Boxing Live out there, somewhere out there in the universe. Okay, was talking and I heard some of that video, and I just wanted to kind of refresh this all over again. It seems like every year this boxing versus MMA debate reignites somehow, right? Somehow the debate comes back to life. It seems like it's dead and gone, and then the debate comes back to life. You know what I mean? Every single time. I've given my take on this, but many people are new to my channel. Many of you were not around years ago when I talked about this. So I'm going to talk about it right now. All right? And I'm going to give you my perspective on this. What's going on, Stormy B Man? What's going on? You got to make sure you subscribe to Stormy B Man. All right? Stormy B Man was my 3,999 like. My 4,000th like was to a video by Mr. Boxing Today. I didn't even realize this, so I was just like randomly scrolling through my channel, and I saw I had 4,000 likes. That's insane, but that's a different story. Look, first of all, there's far too many, I mean far too many ignorant people that engage in this specific debate, right? Usually the ones that really hate like the other sport are the most ignorant ones. Not always, but usually that's the case. All right. Now, usually if like you'll have that boxing fan that thinks that like a boxer will go in there and just land like just too fast and they hit too hard and they'll knock out any MMA fighter because, even in the octagon, because they're very ignorant when it comes to MMA, and it shows. It really does show. And then you have that MMA fan that got into MMA usually through pro wrestling. Like that's the avenue they got to MMA through, right? And they happen to maybe like some old school boxing, but for the most part, they didn't like transition from boxing and as a combat sport fan. They did it through MMA. And usually those people have they're very delusional, and they believe that these MMA fighters can box at the level of a professional boxer, right? Now, I've seen even educated boxing fans believe that certain guys, simply because they're knocking dudes out in the octagon, believe, that these guys got skills that can make them a world champion in boxing. I want to make sure you guys understand that if these MMA guys could be world champions in boxing, they would do it. All right? Because the top boxers make a lot more money than MMA fighters. It's common sense. It is common sense. What's up to Drew Titan? Bronx on deck. Mr. Boxing Today, too. Brooklyn Child Boxing saying Happy New Year's. Absolutely. Mr. Boxing Today, too. What's good, Stormy Drew? And everyone's saying what's up to you. Yes, I do say Happy New Year's. It's a Hispanic thing. Okay, whatever. Right? It's not Happy New Year's. It's Happy New Year. Like, shut up. Okay. I think it's in El Paso. I don't know. I see a lot of people say years, but whatever. Right? Now, let's dissect this piece by piece. Right? Piece by piece. Okay, let's see it out. First of all, just right out of the gate, Let me tell you something. All right. Let me tell you guys this right now. All right. Like, which is the better sport is literally a matter of opinion. Okay. Like that's literally an opinion. All right. However, we're going to dissect a couple things. All right. First of all, a lot of what you see in MMA right now, and you've been seeing it since its inception when UFC started. Now, not MMA because Valatudo's been around for a long time, but let's talk specifically UFC. Right. That's what brought the popularity here to the states. If you look at the very beginning, we're talking '93, folks. I'm 99% sure anyone could correct me if it was in '93. But if you look from '93 to today, bro, it's moving the same direction boxing moved. Like I'm telling you, boxing did not start with two dudes standing up just throwing fists. Like I am telling you guys right now, that's not the way boxing started. All right, both sports started with no weight classes. All right, both, if you want to call it whatever you want to call it, both started with the idea of basically prize fighting, right? What's prize fighting? You fight for a prize. In the first UFC, they were fighting for the prize of being the quote unquote ultimate fighter. All right. And they were fighting, I believe it was like a $50,000 check. Right. The salaries haven't moved that much since then, but we're not going to go there. Right. That's what they were fighting for. For a title, the title of the baddest dude on the planet, and for $50,000 is what they were fighting for. All right. Boxing started the same way. All right. The same way. Prize fighting before the London prize rules and all that, right? It wasn't just fisticuff. It wasn't just, like hand to hand, like literally hand to hand combat in a literal sense. That's not how it started. And if you look at the progression in modern day boxing, when it first, we got to go all the way back before the Marquess of Queensberry to the Marquess of Queensberry and on, right? Both have evolved this almost the same identical way. All right. So what do I mean by that? I see UFC events, all right, and I see people booing and chanting "Stand them up," right, when the fight's in the ground too long. I see people booing when the fight goes to the ground. All right, that's what I see. I see Dana White promoting this belt called the baddest motherfucker belt. Okay, to two guys that are primarily like to strike. I am seeing that pattern. I am seeing them. UFC went from anything goes and all that to just not even 10 years later, they will literally stand them up for the sake of entertainment because it's too boring if one guy's just laying on top of the other guy. All right? That's the progression we've seen. We've seen gloves get at it. They didn't start with gloves. They wouldn't even, I don't believe anyway. Maybe they did allow them to wrap their hands. I'm not sure. All right. I don't remember the first UFC. All right. So we've seen that progression. We've seen less and less grappling, more and more striking. Yes, Capital Tab in the building. What's going on? They've added rounds. They're using the boxing commissions. Every time you hear this bullshit, oh man, I stopped watching boxing, man, because the judges in boxing are corrupt. It's the same fucking judges. All right? All that is just repeated bullshit that people have just been saying just to say it. And I get why people say it because, of course, the judging in boxing has been bullshit for years. But there's bullshit decisions in MMA as well, okay? Like, I'm just telling. If anything, the 10-point must system is terrible for MMA. They only fight 3 rounds, for fucking God's sakes, all right? They have to have their own scoring criteria, all right? But they use boxing commissions to be sanctioned, right? They use this, this is the same commissions. So anytime you hear, oh, boxing, the reason I don't watch it, man, and I watch MMA instead is because, the judges, bro. Like, it's the same fucking judges. All right? They use our judges. What are you talking about? But anyway, they literally use boxing commissions. All right, to be able to be sanctioned, like literally. Now, so we've seen this progression. So what am I trying to say? I honestly believe that the preferred method of combat, okay, is not wrestling, right? No one is saying that knowing how to grapple isn't useful in a street fight. It is, okay? If a dude doesn't know what to do when you try to take him down and you take him down, the dude's fucked, okay? So when it comes to self-defense and all that, I get it, right? It's a very useful thing to know. But in this case, when it comes to entertainment for the masses, all right, the preferred method of doing it is hand-to-hand combat, standing up. It's if that wasn't true, all right, just think of all the best MMA fight and the most hyped up MMA fighters you've seen in recent years. Most of them are stand-up guys. Okay, of everything from Anderson Silva, the amazing things. Not that, of course, John Jones does know how to fight on the ground, but the amazing things people look at is his stand-up. All right, like that's where it's going. And here's the other thing: with rounds being implemented, right? Long are the days where two jiu-jitsu guys that both know how to grapple, because it's easier to end up in a long stalemate when you grapple, okay, than when you thump standing up. It's just a lot easier, right? That's why jiu-jitsu matches like take forever sometimes. That's why they take forever. It's easier to end up in a stalemate when two individuals know what they're doing on the ground, right? It's a lot, and like 5 minute round just isn't enough time, okay, for somebody to work themselves through, putting another man in a submission when that other man knows what the fuck they're doing in the ground as well. All right. So this is why you're seeing more and more stand up now, more than ever. Okay, the it is an art form, but the patience that a jiu-jitsu guy needs to, tire the other man out, and like a Hoist Gracie did to Dan Severn, okay, for example, right? Just wait for the right moment to get that like all that. You don't have time for that. You got 5 minutes, okay? And if they feel like you're not doing enough, because when two dudes are grappling in the ground, it's easy to look like they're not doing shit, right? It just is, right? So what they do, they stand the fuckers up. So that favors the striker. So basically, essentially, you've created a system where someone doesn't have to be a better grappler than you. They just have to make sure they nullify you enough, okay, to allow the ref to stand them up, you and your opponent up. I mean, that's basically what it's become lately. That's what it's become. No, long are the days of our matches and all that. That's just not going to happen. So back before, like, the especially the Marquess of Queensberry rules were implemented, if you look at the rules, they make clear, right, no hugging or wrestling allowed. Now, to this day, people think, right, a lot of fans believe, Marquess of Queensberry says you can't hold. Well, that's not what it doesn't say you can't. Like a clinch, like holding a man's arm while you're punching him with a free arm, okay? They've been doing that shit since the days of Jack Johnson, right? Like mauling a man that way. The only difference is there was a time where fighters just knew how to offset that. They knew what to do, right? They wouldn't get clinched and like just look at the ref like a blithering idiot, all right? Nowadays, fans shout and scream and scold the guy that's holding, okay, rather than the guy that doesn't know what the fuck to do. One dude's like holding him and handling him, right? But that's not wrestling. They literally meant wrestling, right? It even says no kicking allowed. Have you seen that? No kicking allowed. Well, why was that rule written down? Because there was prize fights where kicking was allowed. That's why. So they got rid of all those things. Elbows, they got rid of them. Right? So whenever you hear an MMA fan, right? I've always said this. Okay. MMA fans come and they say the stupidest things to me. Right? But this style. But here's the thing, man. MMA is better because in MMA they could do more things. You know, they could throw elbows, they could throw knees, man. You know, they could toss, they could ground and pound, bro. They could wrestle, they could kick, right, bro? Like we literally have like the sport of boxing literally outlawed those things by design. Okay, like the sport of boxing basically said, this sport we're making, right? This form of prize fighting we're creating, we're not allowing those things. Like it literally say, like you guys need to understand. They don't throw knees, they don't kick, they don't elbow, they don't headbutt. They don't kick and scream like Ray Mercer says. They want to do all the kicking and the screaming. Let me tell you something. Boxing said we don't want that. Okay, we do not want any of that. We're going to force two individuals to fight with just their fist. Like they could only strike with their fist. That's the sport we're creating. That's how we designed it. It wasn't just designed like that by accident, right? Because at that time, you don't think promoters saw, just like we do today, all the booing if two guys are just in the ground? Have you guys been to an event where two guys are just in the ground? It's not fun to watch. Okay, I'm just keeping it real. It's not. There's nothing fun about it. That's my opinion, obviously. Okay, if you like watching two dudes like just kind of laying the ground, and it doesn't mean they're not making movement and they're trying to gain position. It doesn't mean that. But from a vantage point of like the 13th row, it literally looks like they're just laying on top of each other. Okay, that's what it looks like. And you know what they said? We don't want that bullshit. Okay, stand the fuck up, and that's how we're going to fight. That's literally what they say, right? Now, because the rules are made that way, all right? Like, boxing was not made, like, it was designed how it was designed with a purpose, right? Like it was designed to where if you quit, it's going to be very visible and very obvious. If you do not want to fight, it's going to be very clear and very obvious. Okay? If another man beats you, before they put limits on 15 rounds or whatever, okay? If another man beats you, right, it wasn't by accident or something like that. Because he beat you down with his fist and you couldn't get up. Okay, that's basically what it was. Boxing was designed that way, right? So when people say, well, it's limited. What's limited by design, all right? What separates boxing from many other martial arts like karate, kung fu, and all these other shits, okay? Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And what separates boxing, and you know what? Also wrestling. What separates wrestling and boxing, okay? But boxing is unique in its own way, right? What separates it from all these other things, all these other quote-unquote martial arts, right, is that boxing purposely took away forms of striking and battling another man for the purpose of making it more difficult to defeat the other man. It wasn't designed to be the most effective way of fighting on a street fight. That's not the way boxing was designed. Boxing was designed to make it as difficult as possible to beat up on another human being. All right? That's how it was designed. So when we get these two athletes in there, these two prize fighters, how can we make it the most entertainment way possible? Okay? And how can we make this How can we design it to be both difficult and require a very high level of skill? Not to say that other arts don't have skill, but I'm just telling you how boxing was designed. Now, granted, as the years progressed, right, within itself, boxing became its own kind of form. It formed itself within its own rules, within its own universe. It formed itself. Gloves started getting better. With them implementing certain types of gloves, defenses changed. Okay, certain postures changed. A lot of things evolved and changed, right? And the athletes within that sport like they almost perfected, okay, the art of striking with your hands, thus making it very lethal. All right, that's basically what happened. But I'm talking about its original concept and how it was designed. Of course, it's limited. It's limited by design. It was designed to be limited. That's what it was designed to do. And it wasn't designed to make it easier. It was designed to make it harder. That's how it was designed. All right? Like, that's how it was designed. So when you look at it, then it sit there and say, man, what's the most practical way, we could teach self-defense? That's not how boxing was in any way, shape, or form created. All right? That's not. This was about two prize fighters, all right, fighting each other, right? Let's make rules, right, to make a fight, quote unquote, fair, okay, to, create what finite kind of option of fighting do we need? Like, what, okay, let's just have a fight with just your fist. That's what we're going to do. We have decided to, since we are implementing that, we're going to start having these guys wear gloves, okay? Right, so that's just how it progressed. It had nothing to do with, like, no one ever sat down. Okay, like, boxing was not created. Like, no one sat down and said, "Man, and we need to create a system of fighting that is the supreme form of fighting." And then they came up with boxing. That's not what happened. All right. That's not what happened at all. Now, boxing became extremely popular. Dudes became extremely lethal with their fucking hands. All right. So people started seeing it that way. All right. But that's not how it was created. That was not the supreme intention of it. Right. The wrestling has always been wrestling. That has never changed. Right. For the most part. Now, why is it that every great civilization, right? Every great civilization has always ended up, right, with a form of fist fighting where no other forms of striking are allowed. They purposely ban, with purpose, ban other forms of striking. I want you to really ask yourself that. Like that's you need to ask yourself this question. It's not by accident. There is something within the human psyche that just loves, all right? They just love fighting with the fist, right? The posture of it, just everything about it. There's something within the human psyche, right, that can't have enough of it, because great civilization after great civilization, whether it was Egypt, Greece, the Romans, okay, you name it, had a form of fist fighting, which by rules not allowed the participants to strike or wrestle, okay, by rule. Like they said, you cannot do that. It's not that they weren't capable of doing it. That was the rule that they set in place. So whenever someone tells you, well, in boxing, all they do is strike, right? All they do is strike with their hands. Duh. No shit, Sherlock, right? No fun, of course. That's the whole point. That's how it was designed. If boxing wanted knees and elbows and kicking, you know what? They would have left it. They would have let it be. When they wrote down the Marcus Queensberry, they would have said, hey, you could kick. Yeah, you could kick. Why not? Fuck it. Right? Now, I have like my own kind of theory as to why, you know, like the way kickboxing evolved is almost similar but very different also. But you have to think of, when prize fighting was happening, the type of ground they were fighting in, the type of shoes they were wearing. So you have to think about, well, maybe kicking is not a good idea. Okay. The art of kicking, all right. I mean, we're talking about that really transcended like in the Asian countries. Okay. And then that form of fighting, okay, was kind of introduced to the Western world way later on, right? But nonetheless, if that would have happened before Marcus of Queensberry, b- boxing may look like kickboxing nowadays. Who fucking knows, right? But that's just not where we are, right? That's just not the way it happened. So at the end of the day, and we're talking about modern boxing. Now, there's people that when I say modern boxing, they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Okay. Which is fine. Right. Modern boxing is the way today's boxing evolved. Okay. And you move backwards and you end up with the Marcus of Queensberry rules and anything prior to that. Okay. That's modern boxing. All right. Just so we put that out there. Right. Any other forms in other ancient civilizations, they evolved in their own way, but they're very similar in the rules that they have. That it's fist fighting. There is something intriguing about fist fighting. Like there's always going to be a place for it. And a lot of people just need to like understand that. And I don't give a shit what anybody says. Right? A lot of the best MMA fights that people have ever seen, 80% of it is fist fighting. Right? And I don't give a fuck how you look at it. Right? Like it doesn't even matter. Now, with that said, so now that we established that, another myth I want to break because, dude, a lot of people say this shit, and till this day, dude, like it's annoying, bro. What's going on, Kenneth Johnson? 88 Sports Talk, Chief Funky, 84 DC. Apple Thai Boxing Design Entertainment to give each fighter a fair chance as possible. Absolutely. Robert Guerrero hates to watch two guys rolling the floor in bicycle shorts as Chief Funky, 84. Gurguga, what's going on, bro? How's it going? If we let two boxers clinch and fall to the floor, they're basically grappling. Look, people do not understand, like, honestly, how important a referee is to a boxing fight. It's like extremely important. You need an authority figure that says stop, okay, for both men to acknowledge that at that particular time, we're not fighting for position and I'm not putting myself in a vulnerable position, okay? Because if that doesn't happen, right? If you understand the intricacies of boxing, if there's no ref in there, at some point, both guys are going to end up grappling, clinching, end up grappling. Okay, they'll probably end up rolling on the ground and falling on the outside or some shit. Okay, it wouldn't end pretty. Like you need control in there for a boxing fight to sustain within one round, much less 12 rounds. You need an authority figure in the ring to say break, okay, to say stop and to say break and to say box. That is absolutely important, okay? I will tell you right now, if MMA was done where like it was originally, right? Or let me reword that. A ref is needed far less in MMA than they are in boxing. Okay, you could still have an MMA fight without a ref inside that cage. Okay, you can. Like, it's not going to devolve into something outside of an MMA fight. Like, it's still going to be an MMA fight, right? They may do it in eye poking, and they may do stuff that's illegal in today's MMA. I get all that, okay, but it would still technically be an MMA fight. The primary reason a ref is there is for the fighter's safety and to stop a fight at the right time. Also, nowadays, if a ref feels that there's not enough action, they could stand up the fighters. So they are needed in that sense to say, stop, right? Stand up, okay, fight, whatever. Okay. I get that. I'm not saying they're not needed whatsoever. In today's MMA, they're needed more than they ever have, right? But they're needed far less, right? In order for a boxing fight to continue to be a boxing fight, you need a ref. Like, there's just no way at all. It'll devolve immediately. Even when two guys are having an agreed fist fight in the streets or something, okay? You need people and witnesses there to ensure that one guy doesn't quote unquote cheat by going for a takedown or throwing a knee or a kick or something like that. Okay. Like, you still need some form of authority for the most part for a boxing fight to go on, okay, for an extended period of time. It's just period, point blank, no way around that. That's that. Okay. Now, and I agree, Capital Tap is pure wrestling just isn't aesthetically pleasing to watch, and we know that, right? Because as soon as, and what evolved into boxing today, as soon as they got rid of the wrestling portion of it, and the guys that were primarily wrestlers, all right, when it came to them selling their bread and their tickets and all that, it basically became a fucking carnival, all right? And then it evolved into what we have today, the WWE, all right? It evolved into rehearsed and to quote unquote sports entertainment. It's what it evolved to, because even wrestling promoters knew that actual wrestling is boring. Okay, like they knew it. That's why they started to fix the matches to make them more entertaining. Right? Now, it wasn't until the 80s where Mr. Man came out and admitted that it wasn't real, even though most people kind of knew it wasn't. You had your marks here and there, of course, that thought it was real, but it is important to note there was still quote unquote shoots, and that usually happened when if because people don't even know this, but commissions actually sanctioned wrestling. Okay, now they kind of knew it wasn't real, you know what I mean? However, they did have like a ref that would stop the match if appropriate and stuff like that. Like, where the term shoot comes from, like nowadays, shoot means, oh, a guy goes out of character and he talks shit about this guy, or, but it's not in character. He's going outside the storyline. That's what people use the term shoot for. And I know I'm all over the place, but let me just get this out. The reality is, shoot used to mean the promoter tells guy A that he needs to drop the belt to guy B. Guy A says, I don't want to. Make me. Promoter knows guy B cannot beat guy A in a legitimate wrestling match, but he'll get guy C, who's a real shoot fighter, and he'll make guy A give away the fucking title in the ring, or he's gonna beat him up for real in the ring. Okay, that's what a shoot used to mean. All right. Now I digress. Okay, I digress. If if man, I'm all over the place. Anyway, DC, what's going on? Yeah, Stormy B, man, I hear your ref is there to keep Saturday Mike Tyson in check. Shout out to Mills Lane. Rest in peace. Shout out to Mills Lane, man. Let's get it on. UFC stole the let's get it on from Mills Lane too, bro. Okay. Like, people think that's from the UFC, bro. Let's get it on. Like, that's a UFC thing. That's, bro, Mills Lane came up with that, right? Even though MMA is technically the superior art form terms of fighting, most people will not resonate with MMA because MMA requires extensive training. MMA is a privilege. Boxing is a universal. This is Christian NWO. Night to IQ with the UFC is a bunch of skin white fighting skin white guy. Is that Bob Arum? Is that a Bob Arum quote? All right. There's no real debate here. You know what I mean? I'm just talking about both sports here. Okay. That's what I'm doing here. Um, okay, where was I? Because I went quick on the shoot thing and stuff like that with wrestling, and to kind of show where wrestling kind of how it evolved into what evolved into today. Right now, when it comes to entertainment, right? Like I said, it's a matter of opinion, right? It's a matter of opinion which sport you think is better, right? That's what it is. But here's what I was going to talk about. I remember now. The gloves, right? Dude, I am sick and tired. And a lot of channels even channels that I respect say this, bro. But I'm sorry, you guys are wrong. Okay, and you got to be called out on it, right? I am tired of people saying that the impact of an MMA glove is greater than the impact of a boxing glove. That's not true. Okay? And no, it's not just because boxers hit harder, which is true. Okay? But that's not it. That's not it. You guys need to understand. Right? Let's talk about a boxing 8-ounce glove to an MMA 4-ounce glove. Okay? Is it 4 or 5? How many ounces is the MMA glove? Can somebody put in the chat while I pull up this image here? If somebody could put it up. Let me let's see. All right, let's use this. All right, I'm gonna put this image up. Okay, and we're gonna just for a second. I want you guys to use your common sense. Okay, 4 ounce. Okay, cool. All right. This is the MMA glove. Okay. Why isn't it showing it? What's going on over here? Oh, I know why. My cool layout is covering it and shit. Okay, hold on. There we go. All right. Check it out. This is a 4-ounce UFC MMA glove. Okay, like you're looking at it right now. Okay. Now notice one thing. See the fingertips? There's zero padding on the fingers. Okay, just from like they reach, like basically, I mean, midway through your fingers, pretty much. Same thing with the thumb, right? All the padding, all of it, okay, is on top of the hand, all right, and on the knuckles. All 4 ounces, practically. 3.8 of the fucking 4 ounces is all of it is on the top of the hand and on the knuckles, guys. Okay? Oh, but it's only 4 ounces. But it's only 4 ounces, though. But D-style. It's only 4 ounces, though. Right? True. Okay? Very true. All right? Have you guys ever put on an 8-ounce glove? Like, I'm not saying if you follow it. I'm just saying, like, have you ever, like, put one on? Like, ever? Like, actually put on a pair of 8-ounce gloves? Like literally just put on a pair. Have any of you guys ever done that? Like, just, hold on. I'm trying to look for a good image that shows the side, all right, of the glove, okay? I don't even know this is 8 ounces. I have no clue this is 8 ounces. Okay, I just don't. But let's look at this image right here. Okay. Now, if you look at the curvature of the glove. Look at the curvature, guys. The curvature of it, where the knuckles would be. I mean, imagine your hand in there, all right? Look at the curvature of it. If that's 8 ounces, first of all, the entire thumb is covered. The fingers are entirely covered and then some, all right? It's not on this side, but there's at least half an ounce, okay, just on the palm of the hand. It's like a little bar that it has right there, all right? Just that alone. The padding on the top passes the wrist. And look at all the padding around the finger area, right? It's basically the same shit, right? It's just that a boxing glove is designed, right? So there's no fucking eye pokes, right? To prevent eye poking. Like boxing already knew all that, right? When they designed Marcus and Queensberry, like they already knew about eye pokes, and like now they're like, oh, what are you gonna do about these eye pokes? Well, too bad. In your sport, you guys got to grapple. There's really no solution to it. Okay. In boxing, we found a solution for it. There used to be a lot of thumbing, and thumbing still happens, till this day. But I do believe all commissions, at least in the U.S. that I know of, require the thumb to be attached to the most of the glove, right? To prevent thumbing, right? But that's just important to note. But look at the curvature. You guys got to look at the curvature. If you make that into a wrist, there's really not that much of a difference, okay? When people say 8 ounce and 4 ounces, and even 10 ounces, guys, in all reality, you're not paying attention to the how complex all that is. Well, that's not the right word. It's not that complex, okay? But you're not paying attention to how misleading that is, right? That is extremely misleading. Extremely misleading. Yeah, like I said, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but what the guy's talking about. This Kimmy later. Those you see less in quite. I don't know, bro. What's up, little J? Yeah, the Seahawks won. Congratulations. The Bills in that. G Funk says he's put on 8-ounce gloves. He's been hit by them, bro. It's practically nothing, right? There is this misconception. There really is. Oh, but the MMA gloves are little, man. Like, if Connor had MMA gloves, he would have knocked out Floyd. Shut up, man. All right? Shut the fuck up. Are you kidding me? It's not that much of a difference, if at all. In fact, there's some gloves that you could feel your knuckle. Okay, literally. You just press a little bit with the tip of your fingers. You could feel your fucking knuckles, bro. So I don't want you cannot feel your knuckles when you press on the knuckle part of a UFC glove. You just can't. But why? Look, first of all, gloves are designed to protect your hands, not your opponent's face. Okay, you guys got to understand that. Boxing gloves were designed for maximum impact. Like, what device can we put on a human being's hand to where they could punch as hard as fucking possible? As hard as humanly possible, and them not break their hand, or I should say limit the frequency that they break their hands. Well, that's a boxing glove. And since the inception of the Marcus and Queensberry rules, right, it has said we will wear the gloves of best quality. And what it's talking about is the hand of the fighter, right? So in terms of punching something, okay, head on, the boxing glove is the best weapon, right? That just when we're talking specifically just landing punches, all right, you can land a far harder punch with a boxing glove. You can also strike, all right, more frequently. If you put on those fucking MMA gloves, okay, on boxers, first of all, every other fight would end with a fucking eye poke. Right? Every other fight. Oh, he poked my eyes. Okay, like every other fight. Not just with the boxing and putting the hands out there. It would just happen. That would just happen, right? And not only that, guys will be breaking their hands when they land a punch, like on elbows, and you know what I mean? When they land on the chest or the shoulders, and you'll see far more fractures of the hands, right? Because boxers are just throwing far more punches because that's the only form of striking that they use. Okay, they're just throwing far more punches than these MMA guys do, right? That's just the reality, and they're trained to throw far harder as well, right? So at the end of the day, the reason a lot of people believe that the boxing glove is a lot bigger, okay, is because first of all they listen to 4 ounce, okay, and they compare it to 8 or 10 ounce, and they say, oh my god, okay. In fact, Coach Kavanaugh, the trainer of Conor McGregor, right, himself in an interview before the Floyd fight, because remember that they were saying that Floyd doesn't want to fight with 8 ounce gloves, and they said okay fine, and they changed it to 8 ounce gloves, right? He said that when he put on the 8 ounce glove on Conor McGregor, and he said at the knuckles it's basically like nothing there, and he said, I quote, "Man, I'm really scared for Floyd," right? That's what he said. All right, so yeah, okay, right, but that's not here nor there. With that said, okay, because I know I've kind of all this was just to go full circle. And if you've been subscribed to me for a while, you're like, I've already heard this song and dance. I get all that, but there's a lot of people that haven't heard it, right? So that's number one. Now, in terms of like the target, right? The boxing glove is wider and bigger, right? Because again, there's more padding all around. Okay, passing the wrist, okay, to the fingers and all that. We're not talking like when you land a punch, you can land a harder punch with a boxing glove. I will say that all day. Okay, but when it comes to like the small target, right? Yes, with boxing gloves, you can have the earmuffs, and it's a more effective way of blocking punches, right? It is harder to create an open window, right, and to thread the needle in boxing because of that, right? It's harder to land a clean punch in boxing than it is in MMA, right? That's just the way that is. That's the one thing, and the one thing that matters. That's it. Okay, best fight the best with a $5 super chat. I appreciate the support, right? That's right. No, for Christian NWO. No, the glove. Like, look, there has to be a balance within, like, the wraps by themselves, the way they wrap them. Okay. Yes, of course, it's to protect your hand. Okay. However, I mean, you're partially right. The boxing glove and the cushion it provides, okay, yes, it's to make sure, one, it does help with the breaking of the hands, okay, but it is so the opponent just feels the impact of your punch, not the impact of the basically the fucking cast that you have on your hand, right? That is why, like taking out like tampering with gloves and stuff is not allowed, right? Pretty much, right? But have you ever seen the way guys wrap their hands, right? Like a lot of cushion even in the wraps is put like on the knuckle area. Now there's other people that would know more than me about that, okay? But but the purpose of gloves is to protect your hands. Like like let's make that very clear. All right. But there's a balance within the wrapping and the glove itself, okay, to where it's just the impact that you're feeling, not an added measure such as, wrapping. Okay. That's why I've always had an issue with illegal wrapping, tampering with gloves, and tampering with actual wraps itself. I've always had an issue with that. Okay. So you're for the most part right. Okay. But it doesn't like disavow my point or anything like that. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Now, 92 AKU, I'm glad you brought that up. So, as far as the best fight in the best, No doubt that the perception of MMA and UFC is that the best fight the best more often. Okay. And they get more of the fights that the fans want more often than boxing fans do. There's no doubt about that. Okay. However, the pool of talent in MMA is just far, it's not as big as boxing's. Okay. Like it just isn't. Like they don't, like UFC employs like 300 fighters, some shit like that total. And that's their universe of fighters. You know what I mean? Bellator has maybe 100 or something. I haven't looked at it in a while. But we're talking about boxing has just in one division like 1,500 fighters, okay, from all around the world. So the pool of talent just isn't as great. But it doesn't take away from the fact that they make fights more often and stuff like that, right? However, when boxing does make good fights, like the reality is, us as boxing fans, we're very jaded, right? And we're tired of a lot of the politics and stuff like that. That we don't take a moment to appreciate what a lot of these guys do. Like Inoue Donaire, if that was an MMA fight, we would hear the end of it. Like, oh look, see, an MMA, look at man, they go to war. An MMA, look at that, they did a tournament, and these two guys, ended up fighting each other. In MMA, not like in boxing. Like if you take the same Donaire Inoue scenario, the same one, and let's say that was in the MMA world. Like I am telling you, it would just be a bigger deal. And it would be used to show that boxing doesn't do this, right? We just saw Spencer's Porter. If that happened in MMA, right, we wouldn't hear the end of it. See, in MMA, the best always fight the best. See? Like, like I'm just telling you right now. Yeah, I mean, I'm just being honest with you. Like, but no doubt perception is there, and boxing does have a lot to improve and all that. It's a different animal in terms of how boxing runs. Okay, boxing is run in a very terrible way. Boxing can improve the way it does things, no doubt about it. But you guys also have to be realistic and acknowledge that boxing cannot be run the way MMA is run right now. And the way UFC is being run is not going to last forever. It's not sustainable for the next 10 years, guys. I'm sorry to tell you that. These fighters are already, talking about unions. They're already talking about the Ali Act, and they're already talking about, like, why are we getting paid? And like they're already talking about all that. As soon as these fighters have the ability, okay, and get more rights, and like a lot of the same problems boxing has, MMA's gonna have. Like it's just so enjoy it while it's there. It's not gonna last forever. Okay? I'm just telling you guys how it is. Like there was a time where Dana would just say, "You're gonna fight this guy, and that's it," right? Now a lot of these fighters have managers, and some of them even turned down fights. There was that time where John Jones did not want to fight Sonnen in short notice, and Dana made a big deal about it. But that was unprecedented, and no one had ever done that. He said, "Why am I going to fight this dude? Like it's just short notice. Like fuck you, bro." You know what I mean? So we could look back, and he ended up destroying the guy anyway, right? But that would have been unheard of in years past. So it's just it's young. The pool of talent just in the amount of just isn't there. You can argue it's going to have just the same, if not more of a pool of talent than boxing has in its future, right? But as of right now, just worldwide, it just doesn't have that pool of talent, right? They don't have that many options. Like all the guys are UFC, maybe Bellator, and that's it. That's all these guys got. In boxing, you have multiple options, and a lot of these options will make you millions. Okay, like it's just a different animal, right? Like we got to just acknowledge that. All right, now 92 IQ, I get all that. I get it. I think I went over all that, like everything you're saying. Okay, perception is true to a lot of people. You are right about that. No doubt about that. Okay. But yeah, Tony Khabib didn't happen. If that was in boxing, man, dude, a lot of dudes would come out here. Oh, see, boxing, they never make shit out. Like I'm telling you, a lot of it is just perception, right? Like I'm just telling you guys. Now, boxing fans have a lot to blame too. Like when we do get a good fight, you know, there's a lot of people that were trashing Sporter Pants, Spence. I'm sorry, even though it was a great fight, and it was two of the top welterweights fighting each other, and it was exciting, right? But even boxing, oh man, Porter's a bum, bro. Like boxing does that to itself, right? Many boxing fans call everyone except their own favorite fighter bums. So that kind of transcends like that energy. People that are not boxing fans feel that. Okay, MMA fans don't do that for the most part. They just don't. Okay, now we're gonna move on. Okay, look. At the end of the day, the one thing I can say is this, whether people want to hear it or not, okay? In the US, MMA gyms are just thriving better than boxing gyms are, right? And it tells a lot about the future. Now, things could change. Like if boxing goes through a booming stage, boxing can start opening again, right? But right now, for the most part, MMA has more enthusiasm with a younger crowd, right? Like it just does. And I could see it. I could see it with a younger generation. And that is just something, in order for us to fix that, right, we need to acknowledge it first. That MMA, right, because of perception, right, just has, and a lot of it reality, but it has a lot more enthusiasm with the younger crowd, right? Like, dude, I grew up in a boxing family in terms of being boxing fans. Like my grandfather watched boxing, my uncles watched boxing, my older cousins watched boxing, my brother watched boxing, I watched boxing. You know what I mean? Like we all just grew up being big fans of the sport. A lot of my younger cousins don't watch boxing, right? Any of them that do watch combat sports watch UFC or just the very big boxing fights. Like, like the last fight they saw was McGregor versus Floyd. And when I mean big, I'm talking about like box office, right? They saw Pacquiao Mayweather, and what happens with these big mega boxing fights, when they don't live up to the hype, all it does is hurt the sport. Because just think about it. You have individuals that they're watching MMA and that's their thing, and then but Manny versus Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather, we got to watch that fight, right? I mean, if we're honest, that was a boring ass fight, all right? Like that fight, both dudes did not fight their best fight. I feel Mayweather clearly outboxed them, but he wasn't aggressive at all, really, in that fight. Manny Pacquiao did not push the envelope. He played it safe too, if we keep it honest. Okay. Like Manny did not like really go for it like Maidana did. He just didn't. Right. When the big moment came, dude decided, he came up with excuses. Oh, my shoulder and this. Like, you know what I mean? Did that hurt the sport? Right. Every time boxing has had that opportunity to like really shine light and turn people into boxing fans, it's felt short, because these guys, they don't watch Inoue versus Donaire. A lot of them didn't watch Spence versus Porter. Spence Porter was fight fans. We ordered that fight, okay, and some casuals, but not the masses, right? And believe me, the masses are not watching Anthony Joshua. Okay, I don't care what anybody tells you. They just aren't. Not on an app. And before that, they weren't watching him on Showtime. Horrible numbers. Okay. Klitschko did better numbers than Anthony Joshua. If we keep it 100, Vitaly Klitschko did better number. Like, but that's not here nor there, right? The reality is we need, like, boxing needs to change its perspective, its perception, right? That's boxing needs to change that. Like, we really need, and this is one of the reasons, like, like a lot of fight fans, like myself, like, we just want Floyd to go away, right? It's not because, I don't think the guy was a great fighter. He was. But, dude, if you're not going to come back and fight one of the top dudes, I just don't want to see you. I just don't care. Sorry, right? Manny Pacquiao, okay, you're in your 40s. I don't give a shit. Time to fight one of these young, hungry lions, bro. Because for my sport, it's only going to do one of two things. Either Manny Pacquiao is going to do something amazing, or, all right, this younger fighter's going to get some shine. Right? Like, that's just the way it is. So, and I see a little bit of it. I do see some people saying, "Oh, boxing. Hey, I feel like it's on its way back, and I feel like it's making somewhat of a resurgence." And I do kind of see that, but we really need 2020 to just, like, hit it home. We really need to change the perception. Okay, because I'm telling you right now, if it doesn't, if the fans, if we have more boxing fans dying than created, and we're almost reaching that point. A lot of these dudes are in their 40s, 50s. Dude, I'm like one of the young ones here, and I'm 35, bro. Okay. But, dude, we got dudes in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Like, soon, boxing fans are going to start dying out. And if more of them are dying and being created as boxing fans, this sport's in trouble. At least in the United States. It is in big trouble in terms of popularity. Right? Like, I'm just telling you that right now. This is gonna have to get fixed. Point blank. Period. Well, that's it. Well, that's it. And slow motion in one. Boxing is going up. I mean, I do believe boxing is making strides. I really do. But we do need the old guard to either see the young lions in the ring or just go away or fade away into dust. That's period. Right? We need some of these big fights to happen. And we need it bad. This is D-Style Boxing. I'm going to roll out of here, guys. What's up, Jay Cooley? What's going on? D-Style Boxing here. And I'm out. Peace.